The first betrayal was only a whisper. I wasn't supposed to hear it. It was late, past midnight, when I woke to the sound of soft murmurs coming from the bathroom. Mika's voice, low and hushed, wrapped in a tone I hadn't heard in years. Sultry, teasing, seductive. I frowned, my half-asleep mind struggling to make sense of it. Then I heard her laugh, that soft, breathy chuckle she used to save for me. A chill crept up my spine. I sat up slowly, careful not to make a sound. The bathroom door was ajar, light spilling through the gap, casting a thin golden line across our bedroom floor. Mika's silhouette moved inside, graceful, unaware that I was listening. Then her voice again. "You make me crazy, you know that?" A quiet, playful sigh. I can still feel you from earlier." At first, my brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was talking to a friend, joking around? But no, the tone was unmistakable. This wasn't casual. This wasn't innocent. This was intimate. My fingers curled into fists as my pulse pounded in my ears. I listened, my breath shallow, as she whispered things I shouldn't be hearing. Things that turned my skin cold. I should have barged in right then, demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I lay back down, staring at the ceiling, my body rigid with realization. Mika was having an affair, and she thought I was too much of a fool to notice. Fine, let her think that, because now I wasn't just her husband. I was her shadow, and I was gonna find out everything. The next morning, Mika was the same as always, smiling, affectionate, pressing a soft kiss to my cheek as she handed me my coffee. "Morning, babe," she said, running a hand through her tousled dark hair. "Did you sleep okay?" I forced a smile. "Yeah. You?" She stretched, feigning a yawn. Barely. I had trouble falling asleep." Liar. I sipped my coffee, watching her move around the kitchen. Every touch, every glance, every casual word she spoke felt tainted now. How long had she been playing me? How many mornings had I woken up next to her, completely unaware that another man was in her head, on her skin? The thought made my stomach churn. But I couldn't lose control. Not yet. I needed proof. I had to be sure. At work, I could barely focus. The sound of Mika's voice from last night kept looping in my head, each whispered word carving deeper into me. I pulled out my phone and stared at it. I could check her messages, her emails. No, too risky. Mika was careful, I had no doubt about that. If she was hiding something, I'd have to dig deeper. Instead, I thought back to her schedule. The gym, lunch with friends, the late-night meetings she'd mentioned over the past few months. I had never questioned them before. Now I would. At lunchtime, I drove home instead of eating out. Mika's car wasn't in the driveway. She was at her usual Friday yoga class. Perfect. I stepped inside, my pulse steady, and went straight to our bedroom. If she was cheating, there would be signs. I checked her closet first. Perfume bottles lined the dresser, clothes folded neatly, nothing unusual. Then her nightstand. My hands hesitated over the drawer before pulling it open. Inside, tucked beneath an old book, was her phone charger, and next to it, a hotel keycard. My breath caught in my throat. I picked it up, turning it over in my fingers. The logo was small, discreet, the Mercer Hotel, one of the boutique places downtown. Not a place Mika and I had ever stayed. A rush of cold realization hit me. This wasn't just suspicion anymore. This was proof. And it was only the beginning. The hotel keycard felt heavier than it should have. I turned it over in my fingers, my pulse steady, my mind racing. How long has she been doing this? Mika was smart. She wasn't the type to leave careless evidence lying around, unless she had grown so comfortable in her deception that she no longer cared if she got caught. That was her mistake. And now I was going to make her regret it. I returned the keycard exactly as I had found it, then left the house as if nothing had happened. That night, I watched Mika more closely. Every movement, every word, every glance at her phone. She was flawless. Too flawless. She curled up against me on the couch like she always did, resting her head on my shoulder while we watched TV. But her body was tense, her fingers gripping the fabric of my shirt just a little too tightly. She was hiding something, and now I knew where to start looking. The next morning, while Mika was in the shower, I grabbed my phone and searched for the Mercer Hotel. It was in the heart of the city, an expensive place, discreet. A perfect choice for someone who didn't want to be found out. I called the front desk. "Mercer Hotel, how may I assist you?" A woman answered. I kept my voice calm, casual. "Hi. My wife thinks she left something in her room a few days ago. I just wanted to check before we come by." "Of course, sir. May I have the name on the reservation?" I hesitated. If she had used her real name, I'd have my answer. If not, I gave it a shot.
Mika Reynolds.
There was a pause, the sound of typing. Then, "Yes. She checked in earlier this week." My grip on the phone tightened. Checked in. Not just visited. Not just stopped by. She had stayed. I forced myself to exhale to keep my voice steady. "Did she check out already?" "Yes, sir. Her reservation was for one night only." I swallowed back the bile rising in my throat. "Did she happen to be alone?" Silence. Then the woman hesitated. "I'm afraid I can't disclose that information, sir." That was all I needed to hear. I hung up without another word, my hands shaking. She had lied. She had gone to a hotel, checked in, and she hadn't been alone. And now I wasn't just looking for proof. I was looking for revenge. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, my mind a storm of fury and betrayal. Mika had spent the night at the Mercer Hotel, with someone else. I had my proof, but I needed more. Not just for me, for revenge. That night I played my role perfectly. I smiled when she smiled, kissed her when she leaned in, let her body press against mine in bed, pretending I didn't know that just days ago she had given herself to another man. But beneath it all I was watching, calculating, and waiting. The next morning, Mika left early for her usual Sunday brunch with her friends. Another lie. I followed. Her car weaved through the city, and I stayed 3 cars behind, my heart hammering in my chest. She didn't go to the cafe. She went downtown, right to the Mercer Hotel. She pulled into the underground parking lot, and my blood ran cold. Still happening. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a full-blown affair. She stepped out of the car, adjusting her skirt, checking her reflection in the window. Then she pulled out her phone, smiling as she typed. Seconds later, a man emerged from the side entrance. Tall, well-dressed, confident. Mika's face lit up when she saw him. And then, she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him. Not a quick peck. Not a friendly greeting. A deep, hungry kiss. The kind she used to give me. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. I had seen enough. No more guessing. No more doubt. Mika was a liar. A cheater. And soon, she was going to pay for it. I sat in my car, watching the scene unfold like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Mika's hands slid down the man's chest, lingering, teasing. She whispered something against his lips, and he smirked before wrapping an arm around her waist and leading her inside the Mercer Hotel. Like they had done this 100 times before. My stomach twisted, rage bubbling just beneath the surface. But I didn't move. Not yet. I wasn't here to explode. I wasn't here to scream and punch walls like some humiliated fool. I was here to end this, to burn her world down the way she had burned mine. I waited exactly 10 minutes before stepping out of my car. My hands were steady now, my mind sharp. Every step toward the hotel's entrance felt heavier, but I kept walking. Inside, the lobby was sleek, modern, too perfect for the filth happening upstairs. I approached the front desk, offering a polite smile to the young woman behind the counter. "Excuse me, I'm meeting my wife here, but my phone died. I think she checked in a few minutes ago." The woman blinked, then nodded. "Of course, sir. May I have her name?"
Mika Reynolds.
She typed on her keyboard. "Ah, yes. She just arrived." A pause. "Would you like me to ring her room?" "No need," I said smoothly. "I just forgot the room number. I can head up myself." She hesitated, then nodded toward the elevators. "Room 714, sir." I I smiled. Thanks. The ride up felt endless. My heart wasn't hammering anymore. My anger had settled into something colder. Something dangerous. Room 714. The numbers gleamed against the door, mocking me. I could hear muffled sounds from inside, voices, movement. Then, a moan. Low, breathless.
Mika.
A slow exhale slipped through my lips. I reached into my pocket, pulling out my phone. With one tap, the voice recorder app started running. Then I placed my hand on the door handle and twisted. It wasn't locked. A mistake they were about to regret. The door swung open with a quiet click. For a brief moment they didn't notice. Mika was on her knees. Her hands were on his belt, fingers deftly working the buckle. Her lips parted as she whispered something filthy against his stomach. The man, her lover, tilted his head back, a smirk curling at his lips. Then, as if sensing something was off, he glanced toward the door. Our eyes met. The color drained from his face. Mika, still oblivious, finally got his belt undone. "What's wrong?" she murmured, looking up at him. He didn't answer, because Mika followed his gaze, and saw me. For a single, stretched-out second, everything was frozen. Then, oh my God! Mika scrambled to her feet, her face pale, hands fumbling to adjust her blouse. "Ethan, don't." I cut her off, my voice eerily calm. I stepped inside, shutting the door behind me with a deliberate click. The air was thick, charged. The scent of expensive cologne, Mika's perfume, and something sickly sweet clung to the room. The man, the bastard, took a hesitant step back, adjusting his pants in a frantic attempt to look composed. But there was no composure here, only exposure. What are you doing here?" Mika's voice trembled, but not with guilt, with fear. Not fear of losing me, fear of what I might do. I exhaled slowly, keeping my expression unreadable. "That's a good question, Mika. Maybe you can answer it." Her eyes darted to her lover, tall, broad-shouldered, and now looking very much like a cornered rat. His Adam's apple bobbed. "Look, man, this isn't." I tilted my head, watching him. "Isn't what?" He had no answer. Mika swallowed hard, stepping forward like she could somehow close the distance between us, smooth things over. "Ethan, let's just..." "Shut up." She flinched. The lover stiffened, as if suddenly realizing he might be in actual danger. I took a slow step forward, and he instinctively moved back.
Mika panicked.
"Ethan, please, just listen to me." I let out a hollow laugh. Listen to you? The way I listened last night while you whispered filth to this piece of shit over the phone. Her mouth snapped shut. I saw it, the flicker of realization in her eyes. She knew. She knew I had heard her. I turned to her lover, taking another step forward. He backed up against the bed, running out of space. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice unervingly calm. He hesitated.
"Mika."
I glanced at her, arching a brow. "Are you going to introduce us?" She opened her mouth, but no words came. So I looked at him. "Well," his jaw tensed. "My name is..." I didn't let him finish. My fist slammed into his jaw. A sickening crack echoed through the room as his head snapped to the side, his body stumbling backward.
"Mika screamed asteriski."
"Ethan, stop." She lunged toward me, but I shoved her off. My eyes locked on the man groaning against the nightstand, holding his face. He looked up at me, fury flashing in his eyes. "You psycho!" I hit him again. This time he went down, hard. He crumpled onto the floor, clutching his face, blood trickling from his lip. Mika shoved me with both hands, her eyes wild with panic. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Her breath caught when she saw what was on the screen. A recording, still running, their faces drained of color. I let the silence stretch, watching realization sink into them. "I heard everything," I murmured. "And now? Now I have proof." Mika let out a strangled noise. "Ethan, please, don't do this." But I was already stepping back, tucking my phone into my pocket. "Enjoy the rest of your night," I said, my voice void of emotion. "Because when I'm done, you won't have many left to enjoy." Then, without another word, I turned and walked out the door, leaving them standing in the wreckage of their own making. I walked out of the hotel, fists still aching from the impact, but I barely felt it. The rage inside me was colder now, more precise. Mika and Lucas thought they had won. They thought they had gotten away with it. They had no idea what was coming. When I got home, I moved like a man possessed. Every action was methodical, every click of my keyboard another nail in Mika's coffin. First, her laptop. She had changed the password, of course. But she wasn't as clever as she thought. I typed Mercer 714, the hotel and room number she had used for her affair. The screen unlocked instantly. I almost laughed. Even in her betrayal, she was predictable. Then I saw the emails. Hundreds of them. All from the same man. Lucas Davenport. The bastard I had left crumpled on the floor of that hotel room. I clicked on the most recent one, sent just 3 hours ago, right before their little rendezvous. "Lucas. Asterisk can't stop thinking about earlier. You looked so damn sexy sneaking out of bed this morning. Asterisk. Mika. Asterisk you're insatiable. But I love it. Asterisk. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to keep reading. Lucas. Think your husband suspects anything?" My breath stilled. Mika. Asterisk no chance. Ethan's so clueless, it's almost cute. Asterisk. Clueless. Goo. That was how she saw me. A joke. A fool. A man too blind to see the truth right in front of him. I gritted my teeth and kept digging. Then I found the photos. A hidden folder labeled Work Docs. As if that would be enough to keep me out. Inside I found them. Dozens of pictures. Videos. Mika and Lucas tangled in bed. Some taken in our house while I was at work. A slow, bitter smirk pulled at my lips. She had been reckless, arrogant, and now, she was going to pay for it. I wasn't just going to leave her. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to destroy her. Publicly. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Richard Saunders. Mika's boss. I smirked as I hit dial. "Ethan?" Richard answered after a few rings. "Didn't expect to hear from you. What's up?" I leaned back in my chair, my eyes locked on the disgusting images on the screen. "I need a favor," I said calmly.
I'm listening.
I tapped the email thread between Mika and Lucas, my smirk widening. "Tell me," I murmured, "would you be interested in some very interesting information about one of your employees?" A pause. Then, "I'm very interested." By the time Mika walked through the front door that evening, it had already begun. Every message, every photo, every video, sent to her boss, to her colleagues, to her family, even to Lucas' wife. Her entire world shattered. She stepped inside hesitantly, her keys trembling in her hand. She knew. Her face was pale, her breath shaky. She didn't even try to speak. She just stared at me wide-eyed, as if seeing me for the first time. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. The ringing of her phone filled the silence. Then another, and another. One notification after another. Her betrayal laid bare for everyone to see. I watched as she fumbled to unlock her phone, her fingers shaking, her expression twisted in horror as the messages loaded. The truth was out. She looked at me, eyes desperate, lips trembling. "Ethan," her voice cracked. "Please." I turned away. She wasn't worth my time. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Mika stood frozen in the doorway, her phone clutched in her trembling hands. The sound of incoming messages filled the room, each one another piece of her world collapsing around her. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched. I wanted to see the exact moment she realized her life was over. Her breathing grew rapid, her fingers flying across her phone screen as she opened her messages. I knew what she was seeing. The damning emails, the pictures, the videos, all of it, exposed. Her knees nearly buckled. She pressed a hand to her mouth, shaking her head as if she could will it all away. "No, no, no, no," she whispered, her voice cracking. I leaned back against the couch, my arms crossed, and finally spoke. "What's wrong, Mika?" My voice was calm. Too calm. "Something upsetting you?" Her wide, tear-filled eyes snapped to mine. What did you do?" I arched a brow. "Oh, so now you want to talk?" She let out a strangled sob and took a shaky step toward me. "Ethan, please tell me you didn't." "I did," she gasped, her whole body trembling. I pushed off the couch, slowly walking toward her. "I sent everything, Mika." My voice was steady, emotionless. "Your boss, your colleagues, your friends, your family." She let out a strangled cry, her hand clutching her chest like I had just stabbed her. Good. I wanted her to feel it. The same gut-wrenching pain she had inflicted on me. Her phone slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. "No, no, Ethan, why would you do this?" I let out a hollow laugh. "Why? Why?" I took another step toward her, forcing her to meet my gaze. "You destroyed our marriage, Mika. You humiliated me, lied to me, and now you want to play the victim." She shook her head wildly. "I didn't mean to." Shut up. She flinched so hard she nearly stumbled. For the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. Not fear of being caught. Fear of me. And that was when I knew I had won. She opened her mouth again. Maybe to beg. Maybe to lie. I didn't care. I turned away from her, grabbing my jacket from the chair. "You should probably start packing." She blinked, her breath hitching. What?" I glanced over my shoulder, my expression cold. "This house? It's mine. I already called a lawyer. You'll be served the papers soon." Her lips parted, pure horror washing over her face. "Ethan, please, where am I supposed to go?" I shrugged. "Not my problem." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I have nothing now. You took everything from me." I tilted my head. "Yeah." My voice was eerily calm. How does it feel? She choked on a sob. I didn't stay to watch her break down. I had wasted enough time on her. I walked past her, toward the front door, toward my freedom, and I didn't look back. I stepped outside into the cool night air, inhaling deeply. For the first time in years, my chest felt lighter. Behind me, Mika was still inside, sobbing, panicking, drowning in the consequences of her betrayal. She deserved every second of it. I got into my car and gripped the steering wheel, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes were cold, unrecognizable. I wasn't the man I used to be, and that was a good thing. By the time I woke up the next morning, the chaos had spread like wildfire. Mika's boss, Richard Saunders, had left me a voicemail. Ethan, Jesus Christ, I had no idea she was. "Listen, the board is furious. We can't have this kind of scandal in the company. She's done. Her termination email sat in my inbox. Effective immediately." I smirked. One piece down. I checked social media next. Mika's pages were a war zone. Dozens of people attacking her, demanding explanations. I clicked on Lucas' profile. His wife had seen everything. Her latest post was a scathing public statement. To Lucas Davenport, my soon-to-be ex-husband. "You are a liar, a cheater, a pathetic excuse for a man. To the woman you threw our marriage away for, congratulations. You destroyed 2 lives. I hope it was worth it." The comments were brutal. Hundreds of them. People were eating them alive. Mika and Lucas weren't just exposed. They were ruined. And it still wasn't enough. I spent the rest of the morning at a lawyer's office, finalizing my divorce petition. When I got home, Mika was still there, curled up on the couch, staring blankly at the floor. She looked broken. Her phone was beside her. Screen lit up with missed calls, unread messages, and news alerts. She turned as I stepped inside, eyes swollen, face pale. "Ethan," her voice was hoarse. "Please, can we talk?" I didn't answer. I walked past her, heading for the bedroom. "You're really doing this?" she whispered. "You're leaving me like this?" I stopped in the doorway, glancing over my shoulder. "No, Mika," I said calmly. Asterisk, you left me first. Asterisk. She collapsed into sobs, but I felt nothing.
No pity. No regret.
Just relief. I grabbed my last bag, walked to the front door, and this time when I stepped outside, I didn't look back. I drove without a destination. For the first time in years, I had nowhere to be, no one to answer to, and yet, I had never felt more free. Mika was nothing more than a fading memory now, a mistake I had finally corrected. The house, the life we had built together, none of it mattered anymore. She had set fire to everything. I had simply made sure she burned with it. I pulled into a quiet overlook, parking near the edge of a steep cliff that faced the city skyline. The night stretched before me, vast and endless. I should have been exhausted, but I felt alive. I reached into my glove compartment, pulling out my phone. Mika's contact was still there. I hovered my thumb over the screen, considering. Would she still try to beg? To justify? Did she even have the strength left to fight? I didn't care. I tapped block contact and watched her name disappear. Gone. Just like she was from my life. A notification flashed across my screen. An unknown number. I smirked. I knew exactly who it was. I answered, not bothering to say anything. Heavy breathing filled the line. Then, "You think you're a tough guy, huh?" Lucas' voice was strained, still hoarse from the beating I'd given him. "You think this is over?" I chuckled. "Lucas, you're still talking? Thought I knocked the fight out of you already." "You son of a bitch," he spat. "You ruined my marriage, my job. You think I'm just gonna take that lying down?" I leaned back against my seat, staring at the distant city lights. "You already took Mika lying down. How'd that work out for you?" Silence. I could almost hear his teeth grinding. "You don't get it," he finally growled. "I'll fix this. I'll come back from this. But you'll always be a bitter, pathetic loser." I exhaled slowly. "Maybe." Then I hung up, blocked the number, tossed the phone onto the passenger seat. Because unlike him, I was already moving forward. The road stretched ahead, dark and quiet. Lucas' voice still echoed in my head. His anger, his desperation. But he didn't matter anymore. Neither did Mika. They were both finished. And me? For the first time in a long time, I was in control. I pulled into a motel parking lot, the neon sign flickering weakly. It wasn't much, but I didn't need much. I just needed distance. As I stepped inside, the receptionist barely looked up. One night, I slid my card across the counter. "Make it a week." She raised a brow but said nothing, handing me the key. Room 14. I took it and headed down the dimly lit hallway. The room was small, just a bed, a nightstand, and a TV that probably didn't work. But it was mine. I locked the door, tossing my bag onto the bed. And then, for the first time in days, I let myself breathe. Sleep didn't come easily. When I closed my eyes, I saw Mika's face. Not in the hotel room, not in the moment of her betrayal, but before that. Back when I thought she loved me. Back when I was blind. I remembered the nights we lay tangled in bed, whispering about the future. The way she used to hold me, as if I was the only man in the world. Had it ever been real? Had she ever truly loved me? I forced my eyes open, staring at the ceiling. It didn't matter anymore. The past was dead, and I had no intention of resurrecting it. Morning came too soon. I rolled over, groaning, reaching for my phone out of habit. One unread message. Unknown number. "I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I'm sorry.
Mika.
I stared at the screen, unmoving. She wasn't begging. She wasn't trying to manipulate me. Just 2 words.
I'm sorry, kropka.
I let out a slow breath. And then, without hesitation, I deleted the message. I wasn't interested in her apologies. I was only interested in what came next. I stepped outside the motel, the morning air crisp against my skin. The world moved on as if nothing had happened. Cars humming down the road, strangers passing by, the scent of fresh coffee drifting from a diner across the street. For the first time in a long time I felt light. The weight of betrayal, of anger, of heartbreak. Asterisk gone star. Mika was nothing more than a mistake I had finally left behind. Lucas, just another fool who thought he could play games and win. And me? I was free. I walked into the diner, sliding into a booth near the window. The waitress approached, not even looking up from her notepad. "What can I get you, hon?" I glanced at the menu, but I wasn't really hungry. "Just coffee," I said. She nodded and walked off. I stared out the window, watching the city move, realizing that for the first time in years, I had no obligations. No one to answer to. No more lies. No more pretending. I could go anywhere. Start fresh. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through travel destinations. A new city. A new life. I smirked. It was time. The waitress set the coffee down in front of me. "Where you headed?" she asked. I wrapped my hands around the cup, taking a slow sip before answering. "I don't know yet." And for the first time, that was the best part.